stay focused on. These people are on their own.
How can you be so cold and heartless?
I'm not turning my back. I'm just being realistic.
I'm strong, I'm brave, I can fight.
You're not old enough to go to war, Sokka. You know that. Being a man is knowing where you're needed the most. And for you right now, that's here protecting your sister.
I don't understand.
Someday you will.
Growing up, Sokka was a character I couldn't stand. Dare I say, I downright hated him. And for the longest time, I couldn't just figure out why. He was surrounded by a star-studded cast of some of the greatest characters in all of fiction, each carrying arcs that defined what we love about the story. There was Aang, one of the best depictions of the chosen one / last of his race archetype. Zuko, arguably the greatest redemption arc ever written, and paired that with the female cast, there was Katara, the nurturing but powerful motherly figure, Toph, strong yet deeply vulnerable, and Azula, ruthless but led. And we cannot forget about the old and wise Uncle Iroh, one of the greatest senseis in all of fiction. Every one of them carried weight, presence, and undeniable greatness. Every one of them carried gravity. Everyone demanded respect. And then there was Sokka, the normal one. Non-coincidentally, the only non-bender in the group. And that was it. That was the reason. I rejected Sokka because he was the normal one. Deep down, I saw myself in him, and I didn't like it. A big part of why I loved fiction was wish fulfillment, I cannot lie. Slipping myself into the shoes of larger-than-life characters, imagining their strength, their power, their destiny being mine. But Sokka robbed me of that. He held up a mirror I didn't want to face. Because let's be honest, early Sokka was pathetic. No bending, no legendary feats, just a boomerang that maybe did something once a season. In real life, it was like bringing a knife to a gunfight. And worse, he bragged. He dismissed other people's opinions while offering half-baked plans. He pulled the "I'm the oldest, so I'm in charge" card, which, let's be honest, annoyed anyone who's ever been belittled because of their age. This is all without even mentioning his early sexism. At first, Sokka felt like dead weight, but this was not the end of his story. As the series went on, I began to see his value. He grew from boy to man to leader. In a world rich in the fantastical and deep mythological lore, Sokka anchored the story into reality. Subtle at first, but once you notice it, you can't unsee it. And without him, the story would have lost its grounding.
Worship anymore. I miss the love.
Boo-hoo, poor heroes.
What's your problem? You haven't even touched your smoked sea slug.
It's just, all you guys can do this awesome bending stuff, like putting out forest fires and flying around and making other stuff fly around. I can't fly around, okay? I can't do anything. Each of you is so amazing and so special, and I'm not. I'm just the guy in the group who's regular.
In my Dan the Dan video, I talked about the value of being different and embracing your weakness and making your strength. But Sokka shows the other side, that there's nothing wrong with being the normal one. Even among prodigies and geniuses, you can still matter. You can still add value. Here's where it clicked. Sokka's worth wasn't in what he lacked, it was what he gave to everyone else. Going character by character, let me show you what this really means. With Aang, Sokka's normalness gave him something rare. Ease. A sense of chill. When Sokka wasn't locked in, he was the one humoring Aang's antics, grounding him. In many ways, he became the big brother Aang lost the moment he was told he was the Avatar. Separated from the other boys, burdened with destiny. And while Aang got endless advice from spirits and strangers and his past lives, Sokka showed him what responsibility looked like in practice. Through simple actions such as setting up a campfire, taking the initiative, standing guarded, and showing courage. To dismiss Sokka's influence on Aang would be misguided. And then let's move on to Katara. He was the rock in her life, the one who didn't leave, the one who stayed. He reminded her of home, what things once were and what they could be again. And that mattered. Katara's identity was tied to remembrance and cultural pride. Through her necklace, her hair loopies, and her role as the last waterbender of the South, Sokka gave her the family anchor that gave her strength to keep going. And that cannot be disregarded. And then there was Toph. Sokka was her light in the dark, the protector she didn't want to admit she needed. I encourage everyone to closely pay attention to all scenes of Toph and Sokka. You'll see how often he treats her with delicate care. The quote-unquote strongest character practically melted around him. He was the one carrying her when she couldn't move, the one holding her hand when she needed it. Toph, who prided herself on independence, leaned on Sokka more than anyone else. And to me, that speaks volumes.
When our mom died, that was the hardest time in my life. Our family was a mess. But Katara, she had so much strength. She stepped up and took on so much responsibility. She helped fill the void that was left by our mom.
I guess I never thought about that.
I'm gonna tell you something crazy. I never told anyone this before. But honestly, I'm not sure I can remember what my mother looked like. It really seems like my whole life, Katara's been the one looking out for me. She's always been the one that's there. And now, when I try to remember my mom, Katara's is the only face I can picture.
The truth is, sometimes Katara does act motherly, but that's not always a bad thing. She's compassionate and kind, and she actually cares about me. You know, the real me. That's more than my own mom.
And lastly, with Zuko. Here, Sokka filled a hole in Zuko's life, showing him a piece of masculinity he never had. Outside of all the lessons and teachings of Uncle Iroh, the lesson of what it means to a brother was something he simply couldn't teach Zuko. Sokka showed him what it means to be a reliable brother and a dependable friend, the man of the group. And this worked hand in hand. Together, they showed each other that being the man doesn't mean having it all figured out. It means being willing to try, fail, pivot, and adapt. To carry responsibility, even when you're not ready for it. So now do you see it? Sokka wasn't irrelevant. He was indispensable. He filled the gaps the others didn't even realize were empty. You don't need to shine the brightest to cast a light. Then came the episode The Sokka's Master, when his character was really brought to the forefront.
And I know one thing for sure. I have a lot to learn.
Despite proving himself over and over again, through inspiring Yue's courage, which ultimately led in her taking the mantle of the Moon Spirit and saving the North, to crafting an invasion plan which inspired the entire world, and holding a group together on a daily basis. And still, Sokka felt like an imposter. Surrounded by prodigies, he doubted himself. And maybe you felt that too. That whisper in your head, you don't belong, you're not enough. But his master reminded him he belonged all along, and that truth carried into the final battle. Sokka proved it once and for all, even if he didn't need to. He guided the mission to stop the air fleet. He showed bravery against comet-powered firebenders. He improvised the airship slice with ingenuity. He led Suki and Toph with adaptability and courage. And even in the chaos, he kept his tenderness, holding on to Toph, protecting her to the bitter end. And to me, it was truly beautiful to see how our sexist little boy grew into a true confident man and greater leader. Sokka could have grown bitter, being the weakest one. He could have detached, hardened, and closed himself off, but he didn't. He kept his humor, his heart, and most importantly, his humanity. And that's what I wish I realized sooner. That being normal isn't weakness. That you don't need to be the chosen one to matter. That value doesn't always shine the brightness. Sometimes it's in the small moments, being the glue that holds everything together. Sokka showed us that you don't need to bend the elements to bend the world around you. You don't need to be chosen to choose to matter. And sometimes, the people who look the weakest are the ones holding everything together. So if you've ever felt overlooked, underestimated, or outshined by the prodigies in your own life, let Sokka remind you, value isn't about being extraordinary. It's about showing up, being reliable, proving that real growth isn't about being the strongest. It's about adding value where it matters the most. And realizing that your value isn't measured by comparison, but by the difference you make in the lives around you. And thank you for watching. This has been Blessed Visions, where we break down anime into lessons that make you think, feel, and help you grow. Now I want to hear from you. Who's a character you hated at first, but ended up teaching you the most? Drop in the comments, I'll be reading everyone. Because if Sokka taught us anything, it's that sometimes the characters we overlook end up shaping us the most. Like and subscribe, and until the next one, stay blessed.